Hello. We all know how difficult it is at the moment to manage your finances and to work to a budget, particularly with the fact that electricity and gas prices are going up all the time and the cost of your weekly shop just seems to be growing and growing every week. So today I'm going to tell you about how I go about saving a little bit of extra money for our family that we can put towards our family days out, our treats, and also put towards Christmas. So if you're interested in finding out how to boost your piggy bank and want to know how I make a little bit of extra cash for my family, then keep watching until the end. So you're interested in finding out how to make a little bit of extra money? Well, for the last few years I've been doing online surveys, and probably over that time I've tried lots and lots of different survey companies and probably done most of them. And over the years I've whittled it down and down and down to a small number of surveys that I do on a regular basis. Criteria being the ones that are easy to complete, reliable to pay out, and also don't appear to be selling my personal data so I don't get spammed. And I know that's something that you might be concerned about. So in this video I'm going to tell you about my favourite 8 survey sites, what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and more importantly, how much each of them pay. So let me start with the first one. So the first one I want to tell you about is Opinium. Now, Opinium surveys generally can be political. They quite often have a number of different subjects in each of the surveys, and these surveys tend to take between kind of 10-15 minutes, and generally the average payout is around 50 pence a survey. So a 10 to 12 minute survey will pay out 50p. All survey sites have a threshold for payment, so you won't get paid your 25 or 50p straight away. And in the case of Opinium, it's £25. So you need to have built up £25 before you can withdraw it. For this survey site, you can withdraw directly to your bank via backs. You can also do it via vouchers, so you can get shopping vouchers, or you can donate your £25 to cancer research, which might be of interest to some people. In terms of what I like about Opinium, lots and lots of different subjects, very varied, very easy to complete, and quite a low screen out rate. And you'll hear me talk about screen out when I talk about other survey companies. But clearly every survey company has a demographic that they're looking for each individual topic. And what I find with some companies, you will get screened out quite frequently where they find you don't match the demographic they're looking for. That seems to happen less often with Opinium, and it's one of the things I like about them. In terms of what I don't like, it's the high payout threshold. So it can take you quite a while to get to your £25, but the surveys are interesting, and it doesn't seem to take that long if you just keep doing them on a regular basis. And you'll probably get, I would say, 5 or 6 Opinium surveys every week. Next survey site to talk about then is OnePoll. OnePoll surveys are very different to Opinium in as much as they are very short, snappy, but also not available for very long. Now, OnePoll surveys close very quickly. So they tend to be quite niche topics. They might ask you for information on what TV programs your kids like, and they only last, 5 minutes, if that at all. They pay out kind of 10-20 pence for each survey, and on this particular one the payout threshold again is £25 or 2,500 points. The one thing I would say about OnePoll is they close quickly. They are very short, snappy surveys, so quite often you'll get the email invite in your inbox, you'll click on it to go and complete the survey, and you'll find that it's either full or been deactivated by its owner. And that's because there's a lot of people use this site and they are looking for quick turnaround and quick answers. So my advice is act on it as soon as it lands in your inbox, or log into the web page. You'll see all the surveys there, do everything that's available to you at the time, because by the time you get to the email invite, it might have closed. So I do like OnePoll. It's very sharp, it's very quick, interesting, diverse range of topics. In terms of how you get paid, it's either by backs or by PayPal. And again, they pay out pretty quickly once you've redeemed. They have an app as well, which is quite useful, particularly if you want to do it on the go, maybe sat on a train or a bus on your way to work. What do I like? Quick to do, diverse range of topics, interesting surveys to do. What I don't like is how quickly they close. So you will find that, you know, you go into the invite and it's already been deactivated because they've got the right number of answers. So all in all, good survey site, but be quick because they're looking for quick answers and it will close otherwise. Next up is Panelbase. Now, Panelbase is one of the very first survey sites that I signed up for, and I've kept doing it all this time, so they must be doing something right. Panel-based surveys can be done on a variety of different devices: smartphone, laptop, tablet, desktop, and each survey invitation will tell you which device or which devices you can do the survey on, but don't try to do them on a device they say you can't, because you will get screened out straight away. They can pay anything from 25p up to, in some cases, £10 or more, depending on the type of survey that you're doing. So just a very quick few question survey will pay 25p, but they also can have like diary surveys where you go in every day and, for example, log what you've watched on TV or what you've eaten for your meals, and you'll need to go in for a week or so on to do that. But if you complete some of those, they can have a good amount that they pay out. Also with Panelbase, you can get product quality reviews to do. So they'll send you something in the post. For example, I quite often get dishwasher tablets or shampoo for you to trial and then give a review or give you feedback. And so not only do you get the points to count towards your payout, you get some free products as well. So Panelbase, their payout or cash out is £10. So it's lower than the previous two survey companies we've talked about, but that's only to your bank. What I will say is they pay out really quickly, generally within 5 days, directly to your bank via BACS. So what do I like about Panelbase? Really varied surveys, lots of different topics, and they can range from a diary survey to just a general survey about cars to a product review or a product test on dishwasher tablets, as I've mentioned. The other thing that I like is you get a lot of surveys from Panelbase, so you can get 5 or 6 a day. Just do the ones that you want to do. You don't get penalised for not completing all of them. What don't I like, they do have quite a high screen out rate. So there'll be a lot of surveys that you start and you don't get to the end because you get screened out, and they don't have any kind of reward for did not finish. But again, a really good survey site and one of the most reliable and regular ones that I've done over the years. Next survey site is one a little bit different, and you may have possibly heard of them before. So the next one is called Ipsos I Say, and you may have heard of Ipsos Mori, who are a very famous survey and market research company, and you may have heard of their polls in relation to things like exit polls after elections. So the Ipsos I Say panel is a survey site that asks questions on lots of different subjects, and again, wide and varied. Could be some on finance, could be some on cars, but lots of different topics. Their surveys pay out in points, and it's anything really between about 40 points and 80 to 100 points per survey. One of the great things though about Ipsos is a very low threshold to actually get paid. The lowest threshold is 490 points, and that will give you a £5 Amazon voucher. So I cash out maybe once every couple of weeks, £5 Amazon voucher, and then it buys any bits and bobs that we might need. In terms of cash out, you can cash out to shopping vouchers, Amazon being an example, but Marks and Spencer's are on there, Decathlon, a number of other companies. So generally 495 will give you a £5, and then 1,000 for £10, etc, etc. They also have the opportunity for you to cash out to a preloaded prepaid MasterCard, for example. Again, £5 for 490 points, and they sometimes have offers on where if you cash out to a MasterCard, you actually get your points back. So a bit of a double whammy. So it's a little bit different, but much lower threshold. And this can be really helpful to get Amazon vouchers or shopping vouchers to put towards people's birthdays, which is what I tend to do. What I like about it is that really low threshold and the fact that you can get something, and points does mean prizes, very quickly. Very interesting, very varied topics. But in terms of the dislikes, you do quite often get screened out. But there's a dislike and a like here, because I dislike the fact you get screened out, but one thing I like is they quite often pay you almost like bonus points for having had a go. So if you get screened out, you might get 3 points, 5 points. I've had a survey today where I got screened out and got 15 points as a kind of booby prize for being screened out. So there's a positive and negative, but this is one of my favourite sites just for a quick win. Don't get paid in cash because I don't take the prepaid MasterCards, but they are good for building up the Amazon vouchers. I'm going to move on now to 3 survey sites that actually have the highest threshold. So all the next 3 that I'm going to talk about, you have to wait until you've built up £50 before you can cash out. So that, I guess, if you're looking at dislikes right from the start, is a little bit of a negative. But on the positive side, these do make a significant difference to your bank account when you get paid out. The first one I want to talk about is New Vista. New Vista surveys are generally interesting. They're on varied topics and they pay out between 50 and 200 points per survey. I've had a 200-point survey to do today on behalf of UK TV, which was quite interesting. They have a 5,000 point payout, so £50, and that will be paid directly into your bank. New Vista surveys you don't get as frequently as some of the others, and you can tend to have a quite a high screen out rate. So that is maybe a dislike from the New Vista surveys. But what I like about them is lots of varied subjects, and also it's a really nice payout once you get it, and I find them to be very reliable payers once you do get to the £50 threshold. Next up then on the 50 pounders is a company called YLive. Now YLive surveys used to be called Populous, and while they were Populous, they were, and still now, they're one of my favourite survey sites. Again, wide variety of topics. They do tend to do quite a lot of political surveys, so they, for example, will always do a very quick snap exit poll for general elections that they will send you bang on 10 o'clock on when the polls close, so they can get an exit poll out. And you will often see, well, it used to be Populous quoted on the election programmes with the exit poll survey. So really interesting. And this one is a little different because they pay £1 for every 5 minutes that they estimate the survey is going to take. So a 5-minute survey will pay you £1, a 10-minute survey will pay £2, etc., etc. And they can sometimes have one that will say the survey is going to pay out £2 or £4, depending on how much of the survey is going to be, they think is going to be relevant to you based on your answers. So if you completely fit their demographic, you could get £4. If you partially fulfill their demographic, you could get £2, or you can get screened out. So again, this is another one, really interesting surveys. I like doing these a lot. You don't get screened out all that often. In terms of payout, YLive will pay out to your bank via backs, or quite uniquely in the surveys that I do, they'll pay out in cheques. So that's very kind of analogue. And what you'll find with YLive is that if you reach the £50 threshold, let's say in September, so at the end of September, they'll process your payment and you'll get it paid halfway through November. Again, good survey site to do, very reliable. What do I like about it? Lots of varied subjects. They are reliable in terms of you don't get screened out too often, and their time estimation for how long it's going to take to do the survey is genuinely quite accurate. What I don't like, in common with New Vista, is the fact that you have to build up £50 of credit before you get paid. But just think how great it is if you got New Vista and YLive all paying out in the same month. That would be a really good boost to your bank balance. So last but not least in the high threshold payout survey group is probably the granddaddy of all surveys, and is likely to be the one you've already heard of, and that's YouGov. So YouGov surveys are widely quoted in the press and on the TV for their surveys that they'll do on all sorts of different topics, either state of the political opinion or finances, or basically what does the country think is generally quoted by YouGov. The YouGov panel is a really good one to be on. Yes, it is £50 before you get paid, but they have a wide variety of topics, and you'll maybe get 1 or 2 YouGov surveys a week. They tend to pay 50 points per survey, and obviously you need 5,000 points to be able to cash out. But they also, when you've done, you never get screened out of a YouGov survey, which is a real positive in my book. And quite often, once you've done your 50-point survey, they'll also have this thing called YouGov ratings, where they'll ask you 20 quick questions of a thumbs up, thumbs down nature of what do you think about certain celebrities or certain books or films and so on. And once you've done those 20 questions, that's an extra 10 points. So YouGov, alongside Panelbase, are the 2 that I've been doing the longest. Very reliable. I had plenty of payouts from YouGov throughout my time. And yes, it does take a bit of time to get them to pay out, but it's really good to know that your opinions are what are now being represented in the press, and you do feel as though you're being heard from doing YouGov. So what do I like? Interesting topics. You feel your opinions being valued. What do I don't like? What don't I like? Again, it's the £50 threshold. Moving on now to the last survey site I want to talk about, and this one is my absolute favourite, and that's a site called Prolific. Now, Prolific is very, very, very different to all other survey companies, because they aren't surveying your opinion on cars or finance. These are academic surveys. These are people doing PhDs or research in universities that's funded by the universities, and you are helping them with their studies. So they may be asking, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? They may be asking about IT systems that you use in your work, or about attitudes. But these are people that are genuinely going to use your opinions to help to fund, do their research or their academic learning. And I find them utterly fascinating. You get all sorts of different topics. You get kind of games to play sometimes. Really, really interesting. These pay per hour. Now, I'm not saying the surveys last an hour. They can last a minute or 2 minutes and so on. But they have a minimum rate that they pay kind of pounds per hour. And their minimum threshold to pay out to PayPal is £5, and you can meet that really quickly. I mean, for example, I did a 15-minute survey last night that's going to pay out £4.40. So that will, straight away. I cash out Prolific pretty much every single week. And like all survey companies, and this is something that I was going to mention, is don't let your credit build up and build up and build up just to be on the safe side. As soon as you're at a cash out threshold, get the money into your bank rather than letting it sit, just in case anything happens to the panels. But Prolific, highly recommend this one. Very interesting. I hate to say surveys, they call them studies, but definitely well worth getting involved in. What I like about it is pretty much everything. Interesting topics, good rate of pay, pays out quickly, everyone's a winner. What don't I like? Not a lot. The only thing I would say with Prolific is they do send you email invitations, but not all the time. And sometimes you'll only get an email invitation when they're struggling for participants. So it's worth dropping to the website 2 or 3 times every day and see what's available for you to do. And again, make sure that you're only doing it on the device that's specified. So some they say smartphone, some they say laptop, or some you might need a microphone or a camera. So pay attention to that. But really highly recommend Prolific, and it probably is my favourite site of all. That's how I make a little bit of extra money for my family, just by spending an hour and a half every night in front of the TV rather than scrolling through social media. It's an interesting hobby to have, makes you a little bit of money on the side. I would say that in an average year I maybe make £500-600. Might not sound like a lot, but it certainly goes a long way when you're looking at, having a few trips out or a couple of meals out with the family. The sites I've talked about are the ones that I like. They're the ones that over the years I've found to be the most reliable, and they're the ones where I enjoy doing the surveys. There's lots more out there. Some will bombard you with hundreds of surveys a day and fill your inbox. And if you've got time to do them, then great. But these are the ones that I like. But you'll find the ones that you like the most as well. So Happy surveying, and we'll see you again soon.